with you. All right. So what I'll do right now, okay, is I'll take you through the chapters. Okay, we'll just see how many chapters we have. Now I'm aware that you have already finished discussing some of your AS level chapters, right? So when
Yeah.
I talk about a particular chapter, I'll ask you a few questions. If you know those answers, well. If you don't know the answers, what I'll do is I'll clear out those parts for you. Okay, so if there's a particular concept that I feel that you did not answer really well for, I will just help you out with those answers. All right, as soon as my screen becomes visible to you, just let me know that. All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. All right. So now what I'm gonna do, as the syllabus goes, I'm gonna take you just that way. Okay. So in your first chapter, if you look, you studied about a cell, right? You saw what exactly a cell is. This is something that you did even in your IGCSE, right? So you learned what cell is. You learned what are the different organelles of a cell. You also learned that these several organelles that your cell is going to have, they're all going to do different kinds of functions, right? So starting from your nucleus, okay, so let's say I drew a nucleus over here. Starting from your nucleus all the way to the cytoplasm. So I'm just going to put in some amount of cytoplasm. Okay, so starting from your cell's nucleus all the way to the cytoplasm, these all organelles or the parts of organelles are going to have certain kind of function to carry out. Okay, in this chapter you also learn that there are these tiny hair like structures that are going to be present all over your cytoplasm. Okay, this was your cytoskeleton. Do you remember this part? Do you remember what cytoskeleton is?
No, they haven't taught us about cytoskeleton in a cell.
They haven't done this part. Okay, so you might have heard of
No.
something called as microtubule. Micro,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
A microtubule is nothing but a type of cytoskeleton. Okay, the word cyto, cyto, I'm sorry, my screen just went off for no reason. The word cyto over here, okay, stands for cell. So whenever I'm going to write cyto, the word is going to be cell. Skeleton of the cell is your cytoskeleton. Okay, the cytoplasm is the plasma that is contained inside your cell. Okay, so whenever you talk about a cytoskeleton, it is nothing but that particular structure. Okay, so again, this is a cell and this is a nucleus. Okay, now this nucleus you studied is going to be at the center of the cell, right? Nucleus is placed at the center of the cell unless it's a plant cell. If it is a plant cell, then the nucleus is going to be a little towards the periphery this way, right? This is something that you have learned in your very lower grades as well. Now with this, okay, there comes a point where you should be questioning is that how exactly is my nucleus placed in the middle? How does it not come down to the bottom? Let's imagine that I have this thing as a cell. Okay, imagine that this little bottle I have is a cell. If this particular candle over here is supposed to be my nucleus, if I just drop it down, okay, that look at what I'm going to do. So I just drop it down. Did it stay somewhere in the middle? No, it went all the way to the bottom, right? That's because there's gravity acting onto this jar and there's gravity acting on the contents of this jar. The similar thing happens with your cells as well. Okay, there is a certain amount of gravity that is pulling all the objects downward, which means that if there's a cell and there is nothing holding that nucleus in place, the nucleus is just going to drop down. Okay, that is not what you want. You want your nucleus to be held in a particular position, and therefore a organelle had to be introduced which would hold these organelles in their place. Okay, so this organelle was your cytoskeleton, and the cytoskeleton is made up of many small proteins. Okay, now you also might have learned this part where you have two microtubules at the center, okay, like this. And then there are going to be 9 microtubules placed around it. Okay, so these are 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, right? This gives rise to something which is called as 9 plus 2 arrangement of your microtubules. Okay, now you might want to ask, what is this arrangement all about, and what does this arrangement do? So let's look at your one microtubule at this point. Okay, so let's say this is one microtubule that I have magnified over here. Okay, so this is the microtubule, and what I did is I simply magnified it here in one side. Okay, this one microtubule is really tiny. Okay, and if this microtubule is going to be really tiny, it's not going to be able to support any structure. It's going to be very flimsy. Okay, if you want to hold an elephant, you're probably not going to take your stitching thread. You want to take a rope to hold the elephant, right? Similar to that, your organelles are going to be really, really heavy. And in order to hold those organelles in place, what we do is we have these microtubules that are going to be arranged in a specific pattern. Okay, and this pattern is going to then allow your microtubules to become like kind of clustered together, and they give rise to structures which are called as cilia or your flagella. Have you heard of these structures before? Cilia and flagella?
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So internally, if let's say you were taking a particular cilia. Okay, so let's say this is your cilia, right? Right now, this is very magnified. It's not going to be this huge. So this is your cilia, and what you do is you cut the cilia like this. So you take a transverse section out of it this way. Okay, as soon as you would take a transverse section out of it, what you're going to be able to see is internal part of this section. And in that section, what is going to be visible is this particular structure. Okay, you're going to be able to see that internally, this cilia is actually made up of 9 plus 2 arrangement of microtubules. Okay, this kind of arrangement of the microtubules allows your flagella or cilia to be flexible. Okay, it allows it to be flexible, but at the same time also to be strong. Okay, so in this particular chapter of cell, this is the only new part that you learned. Everything else that you learned in this particular chapter of your textbook is everything that you already have gone through for maybe not all along, but you have learned some or the other parts of that chapter previously. Another thing that is really important for this chapter, okay, along with this microtubule structure, is the formula for magnification of cell. Now just look at what is happening around here. Okay, so I wrote magnification on my screen, and if I zoom out like this, okay, zoom in, I'm not sure if I'm using the correct terminology. If I make it smaller, okay, you can see that this word comes down to a smaller scale. And then I can zoom onto it like this, and I can see just some part of this word, right? This is called as magnification, and you can have magnification of as power as huge power as 1000x to 50,000x. Okay, that's like a lot of magnification power. Now, whenever I say that you're going to magnify something maybe 2 times or maybe 50 times, okay, what it means is I have now on my device, okay, the device on which I'm writing this has a 8x zoom. Okay, it has a zoom of about 8 times, which means that whatever structure I make, I can go on and I can magnify it till it becomes 8 times of its original size. So right now, the second dot you're able to see is actually 8 times that of its original structure or the original shape. I'm not sure if it is even visible on your screen right now. I know where it is because I just drew it, But only and only if I zoom onto it, I can make out that, oh,
Yeah.
okay, there is another dot present over there. Okay, so magnification is one of the most important tools for any biologist to actually go on and study the cells. Okay, and there's a formula for magnification. Are you aware of the formula for magnification?
Um, it's something like I upon A.
Okay, so what is I and what
Um,
is A?
I is the image and A is the actual.
Okay, so if I talk about magnification, okay, the amount to which my image has been magnified can be found out by dividing the value or the size of my actual image, right? So let's say this is my actual image, right? This one is my actual image. So I'm going to write how long that image is or how huge that image is. So let's say I say it is 0.01 centimeter. Okay. And the magnified one, let's say, is 10 centimeters. Can't be that huge, but I'm just saying at this point. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if I see this, then what I'm gonna do is if I divide these two values, I'm gonna find out how many times I have magnified this. And you are going to be using this formula to identify not just the magnification of the structures. You're not only going to use it for calculation of how image has been magnified, but if you remember how the structures are, okay, if you look at a cell and if you could just probably, try to remember how tiny or how large a particular structure is, then you remember those parts where in the examinations they kind of give you the diagram maybe of a mitochondria, or sometimes they could give you the diagram of where just like plant cell, and they ask you, okay, this is the diagram that we are giving, can you try to by any chance find out what the structure is, or can you identify what the structure is? It becomes very easy if you just see how many times that image has been magnified. Okay, so I'm just going to write x times magnified image. Okay, or you can even find out how a particular what that particular organelle is if you just take this one small look at the different organelles that people have already created or they've taken pictures of. So right now what I'm going to do is, okay, I have a few pictures here with me. Okay, I'm just going to show those pictures to you, and I would want you to keep sort of like a digital library for these pictures with you, so that if I just put these pictures in black and white, you would still be able to understand that, okay, if the structure is this tiny or if the structure is this huge, it could be maybe my A or it could be my B. Okay, so this is something that I want you to be able to identify. Okay, that is the aim of this particular chapter and this particular activity. So let me just take this here. All right, and okay, let me just make this larger. And as soon as you're able to see my screen, just let me know. Right? Are you
Yeah.
able to see it right now?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So this is a cell, okay, that is undergoing the process of anaphase. This is where the cell is dividing, right? You can see that all the chromosomes and the sister chromatids, okay, they're all away from the center, and this is how they're going to look. Now, this image has been created by one of the AS level students. Okay, how did they go about and do this? They observed all these structures under the microscope and they stained them. Okay, so this is the kind of practicals that you're supposed to be carrying out in schools. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, not every school has been able to do this with their kids. But if you do find chance, at least make sure to visit the school and use a microscope once. Okay, it is a very important practical skill. So you should probably be able to do that. Now, these are the cells that are taken from the cheek of a child, okay? And what they have done is they've just simply stained these cells and they've put it over here. Sorry, this is not the cheek one. The cheek one is ahead. This is your onion root. Now, when you take this onion root and you place it, okay, how would you identify that this is onion root? The first major thing that you want to look at is how these cells have a external membrane. Can you see that they have a small transparent membrane like thing? That is going to be your cell wall. Can you see this? I'm not sure if it is that clear on your screen. Is it
On each
visible?
cell, right? On
Yeah,
each
this is an
cell, right?
onion cell. Yeah. Can you see this membrane?
Yeah.
So wherever my magnification, like the device is kept, you can see that there's a transparent layer outside it,
Oh, yeah.
right? That is
That big?
yeah, it is
It's
going to
that
be
big.
that thick. Okay. And the reason
Okay.
that it is that thick is because these are all the cells from the tip of the root, right? So they need to be really, really strong and sturdy because they're probably going to break through a rock as well, right? So this is how
Mhm.
the cells are, and all these cells are meristematic cells. What does meristematic cell mean? It is a cell that continuously keeps on dividing. They are like stem cells of human beings. Okay, and here you can view that there are different phases in which these cells are going to exist. So that means not all the cells are growing at the same time. So this is the reason why sometimes you would see that a root is growing and then suddenly from a different side, it starts to branch out. So it is going to start branching out wherever more cell growth has taken place and where the cells have gone through their cell division successfully. And now they're like, oh, now the only thing that we have to do is divide and grow. Okay. The other reason that there is going to be some amount of branching in your roots is because of different kinds of hormones. Okay, so when we go to our A-level topics, we are going to discuss what are those different hormones that are going to affect that. But right now, you need to know that meristematic cells are going to keep on dividing, and this is how they're going to be look. Okay, this is how they're going to be looking. Now, this is again your interkinesis. This is where your cell has successfully divided all of its organelles, but it has not separated completely. Kinesis means movement. Kinetic energy is a word derived from kinesis. Okay, so here the cell is in the process of dividing. So you can probably make out over here, right? The membrane has started to come inside, it started to move inside a little bit, but hasn't completely separated. Okay, so they could ask you images like this and you would be asked to identify them. For your practical skills, what Cambridge does is Cambridge sends us certain slides. Okay, so your school, you're in DG Ketan, right now?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So what is going to happen? Your school is going to get a series of slides, okay, microscope slides, which are going to be already prepared, which means that the only chance that your teacher has to get you familiarized with this particular concept is to make your own slides or maybe buy some new slides, and then you're going to be observing them under the microscope. But till the examinations are over, the teachers don't really know what kind of slide is going to come out from the Cambridge toolbox. Okay. So what you want to do in order to prep yourself really, really well is you want to go to this app, which is called as Pinterest. Okay. Now, if I could just hold on, we would stop this. I'm sure you're quite technologically advanced, but I have a habit of taking my kids through the entire process of how to get to this particular point. Okay, so just if you could just give me a second, I'm gonna take you there, and this is the app. Okay, Pinterest. You want to log into it, okay, so that you could save your images. If you don't log in, if you just see it online, the images may not get saved. And then you want to type cell under microscope. Once you do this, a series of amazing cells under microscope open up. We have observed that some of the questions, okay, that Cambridge loves to use images like this. Can you see how beautiful the slide has come out? So you want to familiarize yourself with different slides like this. Okay, this is a picture of a grass root, not grass root, grass leaf under microscope. Okay, so what you're able to see here is a vascular bundle. Okay, so this is how the images are going to be. If you go to make these slides, they're not going to come out so pretty. And the reason they're not going to come out so pretty is because these images are digitally enhanced. Okay, and also these images are stained by professionals. This image obviously has not been stained. This is a plant slide. Okay, this is also a plant slide, so this is not stained, but you can still see how clear the demarcations have been attuned, or how nicely these demarcations are visible to you. And the reason they are visible to you so well is because these images are digitally enhanced. What you see here, okay, this ridge is where your cell wall is joining with another cell wall. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is, while I have the opportunity to do this, let me just look over here. All right, so this is the image that we have. This is a drawn image. Let's look at this one. Okay, now are you able to see these tiny, tiny, tiny green structures all inside my image, right? So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
copy this image. Okay, or maybe let's just save it so that we can view it. All right.
So all the other cells, like normally they're black and white, or like exactly what color? Like
So
if it's
your
not
yeah,
stained.
if they're not stained, these cells are so tiny that they do have color, but you can't see it. Okay, except your red blood cells. All the other cells, if you make a slide, okay, you want to make the thinnest slide possible. And when you do that, okay, when you make a slide, because you've taken a very tiny portion of it, the light just passes through it and you will not be able to visualize it. So the cells of your cheek, if you just open your mouth in front of the mirror, you're going to see that they have like a beige color. That's because a layer of thousands of cells is put together, and then you're able to see its color. Like I could do a thing with you here. Okay, just give me a second. All right. You're able to see my screen now? Yeah. So now look at
Yeah.
what I do. Okay. So here I have my paintbrush. Okay. I'm going to take this. Now this is my one layer of color. If I overlay many, many, many layers, what happens is my image goes on becoming more and more darker, right? So the more number of layers I overlay, the darker my image is going to be. If I just probably take the lightest stroke, can you see the difference? If I look at this part, this is how my one singular cell is going to appear. Okay, and because when you use a microscope, there's a bright light coming toward you. Okay, what's going to happen is even this lighter shade of pink is going to seem colorless. And this is why, even though these cells have a color, you're not going to be able to see them. So to answer your question, yes, the cells have color, but when you see them under the microscope, they don't have color. And the reason why they don't have a color under the microscope is because we are taking a very tiny section of it. Okay, now let's go back to this particular image we have. Now what you're able to see here, these all are your tiny chloroplast globules. Okay, now, if you look at this, okay, the important part for us over here is that this is a cell wall, okay? So what you were able to make out, I hope you're able to make this out over here. You can see this little triangular structure here where you can make out that, okay, these three cell walls are not really meeting with each other, okay? Or even here, there's a gap between the cell walls,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
these all cells are a part of a particular plant, which means they probably need to communicate with each other. But each one of them have their own confined cell walls, and there seems to be a gap between the cell walls. Now they can't use words, they can't use anything else to communicate. So what would be the mechanism in which they do? So what happens is these cell walls are gonna have like very tiny joints in between. Okay, now this joint is not really visible here, but these structures, okay, or your plant cells are going to have these you can say branchings in between. Okay, have you heard of something like that? Have you heard that your plant cell walls are going to be connected by something? Yes.
Walls. Cell walls are connected to the cell membrane or like to other
One
cells?
cell wall connected to another cell wall.
Mm, yeah, I don't exactly know. Like I have not
Okay.
heard this.
You've not heard about it. Okay, so when you look into your let me just see if I can find that image. Okay. Mm, mm,
It's
mm.
not clearly visible, right?
It is
That
not
the
clearly
cell
visible.
walls are
It is
touching.
really tiny. It is going to be the tiniest structure, in fact. Okay, so if I could just find that diagram, it'll be just a minute. Mm, okay, by the way, the structure is called as plasmodesmata. In case, if that strikes,
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
right? You might have heard of that. Yes.
Yeah.
So these are the plasmodesmata. Let me just share the screen again. So during the entire session, okay, I just keep doing this a lot of times, which is I'm gonna be stopping the screen share from one side and I'm probably gonna open a different one. So just try to, just like
Yeah. Yeah.
adjust with that. It's difficult when you're doing it online. It was easier when I did it in schools because I could just probably print out all these pictures and keep and then be like, okay, these are the pictures. It's a little bit tough when you do it here. Okay, so this is probably the best picture we have for plasmodesmata. Apart from that, you can see that there seems to be some anime about it as well. If you're in anime, you could probably watch it. Okay, so this is where you're going to be able to see something called as plasmodesmata. Okay, now that is one way in which your cells, okay, plant cells are able to communicate with each other. This communication is between two cell walls. Okay, and whenever such communication takes place, it is called as apoplastic pathway. Okay, apoplastic because it is taking place through the cell wall. So one cell wall is passing certain message to other cell wall. Another way of trying to remember this would be how your neurons do it. Okay, so your neurons are going to have those Schwann cells, and then your electrical impulse is just going to come and then jump from cell to cell. That is exactly how plasmodesmatas carry out the process of apoplastic pathway. Okay, and then you're going to have something called as a symplast pathway or
So
symplastic pathway. Yes.
yeah. So won't the organelles of the cell like get transferred from one cell to another? Like
No,
if
no,
their cell walls are touching.
no, they do not, because if you see here, see, this is the orange line. Okay, I'm just gonna try to see if I can make this structure a little larger. Okay, here it is clear. Can you see the orange line that is going? Follow the line. It is coming from the cell wall and going through the cell wall. It is not touching any of the organelles at this point. This is your apoplastic. Okay, but when you look at your symplastic pathway, this is where the cytoplasm is connected to the cytoplasm of other cell. But can you see how tiny this gap is? A plasmodesmata is so tiny that you can hardly view the connections even under huge magnification. Okay, it's like really tiny. So what you're going to be seeing is that some tiny particles, maybe like some moles, okay, not even molecules, some moles of starch could move from this side to this side. Specifically, this pathway, okay, your symplastic pathway is used so that very small kind of messages would be sent from one side to the other side. Okay, so organelles don't really move from one side to the other because they don't really find any reason to do that. Okay, so even if plasmodesmata does get large enough, it is still not going to allow the transfer. So you can see how this structure is. This is your endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, this is how your cell wall is. This is a cell wall, and this is how you have your callose. We don't have to learn about callose when you are in AS or A level, but it's kind of like a structure. Like it's like a protein that holds the shape of your cell wall. Okay, so this is your like how your endoplasmic reticulum is here. There's another ER over here, and the molecules are just gonna move very, very softly from one side to the other. Okay, and the pore that a plasmodesmata contains is called as desmotubule. You have the thing here. Okay, so the tubule is called as desmotubule. Now you might be wondering why you need to know all of these things. So when it comes to writing your MCQs, okay, or answering your MCQ questions, this particular point is written in your textbook as like one sentence, and it comes as 1 mark MCQ. And even when you're doing your competitive exams, okay, these are the concepts that you're judged on the basis of. So whenever you have a textbook, even if you see a small word, you want to go online and you want to check out that word. And the best way to look for biology resources or biology diagrams is this site. Okay, so you want to come to your Pinterest and you want to just type and then just go on exploring at the bottom, or maybe 2 3 4 pages, and you're going to find out amazing resources for your Cambridge. Because Cambridge is a UK university. Okay, most of the resources that are curated overall in the world happen to be relevant for Cambridge. So if you were probably in an Indian board, you would not find as many resources as you can for AS and A level. So this can be used at you as your advantage. So take good use of this. Okay, take good advantage of the app and just find out all the images that you need to. Okay, and with that, you finish with your chapter number 1. There's absolutely nothing else happening in your chapter number 1. Now, when you go to your chapter number 2, okay, you saw that there are going to be your biological molecules. And what you learned in that particular topic is all about, the structures that make up your cells, or make up entire human being or entire dog or maybe any other animal or plant, right? We learned in this particular chapter is that you're basically a carbon based life form, right? If you watch alien movies, you're gonna be hearing this quite often. These are not carbon based life form, and that is why they're attacking. If you want to understand what I mean by carbon and non carbon based life form, there is an excellent movie which you should watch. It is called as Aliens. And then there's another movie called as Predator. And then there's another movie called as Aliens versus Predator, because the first 2 movies went really well. So they made it. Then you have Aliens, Predators versus God knows what not. So there's like a whole stream of those movies. What you want to watch is your Aliens and your Predators. Okay. It explains beautifully how different life forms can exist, and if they do exist, what their appearances and what their molecules would be. But since we are on Earth and you're learning the Earth science, okay, we are going to be talking about the biological molecules for the Earth. And on the Earth, we have 4 biological molecules of our concern. Okay, those would be your carbohydrates. Okay, those would be your lipids. Then you would have proteins, and you would have amino acids. Okay, so with all of these biomolecules, what you're going to be able to see is that all of them have carbon and hydrogen as their base. Okay, but carbon happens to be abundant, so we call ourselves carbon based life form. So when I talk about my carbohydrate, not so small, carbohydrate, okay, my carbohydrate is going to contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay, when I talk about my lipids, I'm gonna put lipids over here, then I'm gonna write proteins, and then I said we have nucleic acids. Okay, now what you're gonna see in lipids is that again your lipids also have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but these are arranged in a more complex manner. Okay, so they're not arranged in the simpler way where you have just carbon, then another carbon, then another carbon, then another carbon, which could then be attached to another oxygen and hydrogen and oxygen with a hydrogen over it. Okay, this is a simple arrangement. They are just branching out on one long chain. But when you talk about lipids, they're going to have a little bit more complex biology. There could be a double bonds, there could be a single bond, which is then attached to another oxygen and carbon and hydrogen. So they're going to have very complex bonding. Okay, so this is what you're going to see in terms of your lipids. When you come to your proteins, they're going to have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and in addition, they're going to have a nitrogen molecule. Okay, so first you have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen that make up carbohydrates. Then you have your lipids that are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen as well, but a more complex, you could say, arrangement of these molecules is seen. Then you're going to look at your proteins. These proteins are then going to be made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen as well, but they're going to have an extra molecule with them, which is going to be a nitrogen. When you talk about your nucleic acids, again, you're going to have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. You're going to have nitrogen as well, but in attachment to that, you're also going to have a phosphate group. These are some of the things that you need to remember whenever you talk about your biomolecules, right? So are you following with what I'm saying? Is like my talking making sense? Is it something that you're able to relate with? Is this something you've already learned? What is it? Just if
Yeah,
you could let me know, right? So
yeah,
you're
I
able to
am
understand what I speak.
understanding. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, that is really important that you understand what I speak. Okay, now again, when you come to biomolecules, you're gonna come to a point where all of these biomolecules are something that you would just simply have to sit and kind of try to imagine. Okay, and it could become a little difficult to imagine things because in chemistry, okay, your first chapter is all about atoms, and in that particular chapter, they tell you that, okay, this is how an atom looks, and then this is how it is going to bond with other molecules. And then when I say that you're going to have carbon, 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 carbon bonded to another hydrogen, hydrogen, and oxygen, oxygen, it kind of mixes up your concepts, right? Because someone is teaching you that in one atom, there are going to be these electrons that are going to be going around and then fill up the orbital in a particular manner. And then you talk about these molecules coming together and making up these structures. So you want to have some reference to imagine these structures. Again, in order to imagine those structures, you need to have some base idea about them. And therefore, you come back to your Pinterest. Okay, and once you come back to your Pinterest, you would be able to see that there are these kind of, just hold on. Okay, there are these kind of images that have been drawn up. Okay, so these images are something that artists have gone over and they've kind of created an illustration for us. Just give me a second. So by the way, this app is also available as this is also available as an app. Okay, so this is something that will pop up as soon as you see. And these are how you want to remember your biomolecules. Okay, they'll just come up in a second. Just give it a minute. Right now, if this is the kind of content that you understand, okay, where they're probably given a particular kind of representation, or their molecules that show how they are associated with each other, you probably want to check out a YouTube channel. Okay, it is called as Amoeba Sisters. And all the concepts that you are learning here right now in AS and A level have been sort of compiled together. Okay, not all the information. Obviously, you still need to go to school and you still need to read up the entire content by yourself. But just the base of the entire chapter is covered by these people in their channel. Okay, so ever you feel that okay, this kind of is getting a little boring for me, and maybe I need a change of visuals to understand this better, I would suggest that you check out this channel called as Amoeba Sisters. Amoeba as in the microorganism, and sisters as in related siblings. Okay, so Amoeba Sisters is what you want to check out, and they'll make it really fun and easier for you to understand all the concepts. Okay, so this is the diagram that I kind of tried to replicate for you. Okay, so your have like your CHO, then CHO arranged in more complicated manner. Then you're gonna have CHON, and then you're gonna have CHONP. Okay, so this is something that you should be able to do in your syllabus. Now, what I'm gonna do, okay, is I'm gonna stop with this concept right here, and when we meet up, in case we do, okay, if you decide to go over, what I will do is, okay, I will take over the part for carbohydrates. It takes about 10 minutes for us to learn about each of these molecules in detail. You're required to sort of be able to identify the carbohydrate. You need to be able to identify a lipid. There are certain kind of tests that are to be carried out in the labs, so we would be discussing those tests as well. And overall, if you see, it takes about an hour to revise the entire chapter, which means that if we take it up, then you have initially you have about 13 chapters to revise. Okay, your AS level requires you to finish at least 13 chapters, which means that within give or take 13-14 hours, you would finish the revision for your AS level, and then onward you can start learning the concepts for your A. Okay, so usually it takes me about 4.5 months to finish the entire syllabus for AS and A. If you do about, let's say, 3 sessions per week with me, which means by the end of September, not September, we're in June right now. So June, July, August, September, October. By the end of the October, okay, we would be able to finish up all the chapters, and then you could probably pay attention to your chemistry and physics. Once you're done with the classes with me, you would obviously have the recordings with you. And I rarely have children coming back for revisions, okay, because whatever you learn in the class is there as a recorded session for you, so you can just go over as many times as you want. Plus, all these videos, in case you lose them, also end up on my YouTube channel. So what you can do is you could just check them out right there as well. And it becomes easier. The biology is easy. So that is what I have going on right now.
Past
Okay.
papers, about past papers.
Yes. We do
Like
solve the past papers as well.